Hi, everybody. We're going to try this one more time. I am very excited to be coming to you live from the new gallery space, and we are going to try and chat with Meghan Bustard. Meghan has the distinction of being the very first artist and artwork that we hung in the brand new space. Her work was the first piece I put up on the wall. It is so, so beautiful. It is for the show. I'm going to try and hopefully she's going to be able to pop up here and we'll be able to chat with her from her studio in Spain. Um, but oh, yay! Hi.
Hey.
Thank you so much for doing this.
Yes, thank you for having me.
Yes, okay. I was saying that I don't know if you know this, but you have the distinction. We moved our gallery space last week, and your work was the very first work I put up. So you
Oh,
have the distinction of being the first artwork up on the walls.
that's very special.
Yeah. Um, okay, so first of all, thank you so much for joining us. You are joining us from Spain, is that right?
Yes, correct.
Okay, you are
Yeah.
normally in Canada, and a Canadian artist. And then, okay, so tell me about you're in Spain now. How long have you been there?
Yeah, we moved in September. So I'm here
Wow,
with my husband and our kids, and we're here for a year. We're doing an adventure, and
that is so exciting.
yeah, it is. Yeah, it's we love to travel, and so it's fun to settle in for a little bit longer. And
Yep.
yeah,
Okay, did you find a space with a studio? How does your practice continue when you're moving abroad like that?
great question. Yes, that was the
Okay,
top of our list. So the place that we rented for the year has a big two-car garage that is my studio, although apparently maybe its Wi-Fi isn't great. That's
that's
where
okay.
I'm trying to come in from. But anyways,
That's all right.
yeah, but it's great to have that um, for all my painting stuff. And
Yes.
then I brought some supplies over with me, some of my favorite brushes and that kind of thing. And then I just placed a huge order here for rolls of canvas and spectrum
Wow.
colors and paints and everything. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's been fun setting up in a new space and getting back into painting after a few weeks of
Yeah. Do you feel inspired? Do you feel like in the new space, are you feeling like there's going to be interesting influences from a different location?
definitely. Yeah, I my work is so influenced by space and the places that are around me, and then I'm very interested in how our memories process that and record that.
Hmm.
So yeah, as my experiences shift, so does kind of like the input that is
Yes.
going into my memory making process. Um,
Yes.
yeah, so that's been fun. Anytime you're in a new place, everything
Yeah.
feels so vibrant, and it feels a little easier maybe to see things with open eyes because you're
Yeah.
not used to anything yet.
Yes. Right.
Um, yeah, so I feel like I've been overloaded with inspiration since moving here.
That's great. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. I was in Europe this past week. I got in late
Yeah.
last night, but I was in Copenhagen and Amsterdam, and two cities that I had never been to before. But I feel so like I'm like full of inspiration. My brain is just like on overload, and I bet that would be so interesting as an artist being in a new space and getting that opportunity to just kind of your surroundings change.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And especially because
Um,
weeks I didn't have a studio set up. So then now that I have everything there, I'm like, let's go.
Bursting, I bet. Okay, so we have a show opening called Welcome this Friday. Your work is in it, of course. The reason we called it Welcome is because that was the title of the first show in the last space. And so, since this is the first show in the new space, we wanted to continue that on just because so much of our ethos is everyone is welcome here, artists for everybody. And so, that doesn't really talk about what the show on the whole is, though, which is a little bit we're kind of calling it our interior our neutral show because we do so much bright big color here.
Mhm.
But what I think is really interesting is that it feels like this is an evolution continuing of your work. This work feels a little different, but still true to you. It's got a little more color in it, which I just kind of want to share around. So talk to me about, sometimes we've got black grays and and some creams and things like that from you. What is it like to work with color in this way?
Totally. Yeah. Every time you introduce a new, or every time I introduce a new color or a new shape, a new mark style that I'm making,
Yes,
it feels like it's adding to this visual vocabulary that I'm using to communicate on canvas.
yes,
And so, yeah, as my work moves forward, my colors tend to kind of shift bit by bit.
yeah,
Um, and especially as seasons change, because I'm so inspired by natural landscapes around me. Um, Most of these paintings were made on Main Island. Um,
okay,
and so I was surrounded by views of the ocean and sunset and sunrise and just spending lots of time outside in the summer. And so some of those more, I mean, I don't know that I would say like vibrant in
right.
those
No,
cute
yes,
colors,
yeah,
but
no,
for
true, yes,
me,
yes, yes, yes.
more
But
vibrant for me.
oh, but I just think that the way that the blue is saturated here is just stunning. And then I do want to talk about the sewing of the canvases as well. I
Yeah,
think that that is such a beautiful element, which may be a little hard to see on video for everybody that's looking at it. But there are sections of the canvas that have been sewn tightly together. You can even see even more here with that distinct line. Are these separate paintings? Is this the same painting that has been cut up and sewn together? How does that work?
great question. Um, Sometimes they are from the same canvas that I have like cut and then repurposed. Other times I am looking at it and I'm thinking, oh, I need like this color here, or I want
Right.
that. And so I'm piecing it together and pulling from separate canvases to kind of create the cohesive finish that I want.
Okay.
Um, yeah, I've been more and more interested in how line intersects shape in my work.
Ah,
And so this was kind of a chance to explore what that looks like by still having my really fluid shapes that I achieve with pouring,
yes.
but then introducing the line element with a sewn line rather than a drawn line or a painted.
Right. Right.
Uh,
Because I think you can see here, even on this painting that I was looking at first, you can see how after you go in, is that graphite here that you've
yeah,
gone back through with and added some of that sort of line work? And
yeah,
then additionally, kind of even creating kind of a section off of where it follows along some
yeah,
of that brushwork, which I think is so cool and
yeah.
creates more dimension. Um, and then also the line work here you can see because you create some of your own brushes, is that right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're different. Yeah, yeah. I got all sorts of things going on in that one. We got
I know. I love this. I love this piece, but I think it's really interesting when you're talking about the way that the line is intersecting.
mhm.
Um, with some of these shapes. I also, oh my gosh, when you're talking about sunrise and sunsets, I'm obsessed with this piece.
Yeah, that one was
It's,
very,
oh
very.
my gosh, it's so beautiful and fluid. And it does again have some of that sewn line work throughout. Um, but my goodness, it looks like just the most fluid. Now, is that happening because um you're not treating the canvas beforehand? It's almost like a Morris Lewis, like the paint like becomes part of the canvas. Is that how you kind of feel of it?
Totally. Yeah, it's a bit more
Gosh, it's so beautiful.
staining almost,
Yeah.
sitting on top type of thing. I like
Yes. Yes.
the way, yeah, so I have worked on raw canvas for years and
Mm-hmm.
it holds detail in the canvas as the paint moves and dries and it holds a little bit
Right.
more stroke and yeah, I feel like I can get the textures and whatnot that I'm looking for uh,
Mm-hmm.
by using that.
Okay, and also one of the things that I love about your work is that you really do create different types of consistency and texture with the paint. Is this an acrylic here too, or are you working with another type of like a like an oil stick, or how is that? What are you creating with right here?
Exactly. Yeah, so that kind of dark gray shape is an oil stick.
Okay.
Mm, yeah, and I love using oil stick. I love the texture that it gives me. I love that
Yeah.
when you almost want to just stick your fingers in it and touch it and
Yeah.
feel what it feels like. I
Right.
really like that aspect. Um, yeah, and then I also I I love working with transparencies. Um,
Right.
and so this dark green section in here, I've mixed with a heavy bodied medium so that it will hold my brush strokes as I paint.
Got it.
It has the transparency of a wash, but I still wanted it to hold texture in a way that kind of
Yes.
mixed the texture of the oil stick. Um, yeah, as opposed to some of the smoother sections before.
It's just so so beautiful. I appreciate you kind of walking us through that, because I really love the depth that is created by the different texture here. And I just think it's so fascinating because we of course have a lot of clients that follow along and want to know more about being able to speak to pieces and being able to understand. But then also I think that there are artists that are just so interested about how different being, because these are truly mixed media pieces.
Yeah.
And I love seeing how um, those interact together. And then, part of what just makes you such a good artist and such a pro is that each work, and this is what we're always looking for from our artists, is that there's a connective tissue through all of them. I mean, look how beautiful they are, but they are quite different. Each one is quite different. And so to be able to kind of create, this is what we always are looking for when we work with artists for a collection and having it as a part of a show. And then the way that it interacts with the other artist's work, which I think is one of the really exciting things about putting together shows, because when I put your work next to another artist's work, conversations are had. That's always what I say, like conversations are had between the art, right? And you
Yes.
start to notice new things. And I think that's what's just so exciting about putting together a show, because you don't always know how it's going to all shake out. Okay, Suzanne asked, are you using oil on top of acrylic?
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm not using oil paint. I start with either like a liquid acrylic or a flash. Um, and then oil stick is always my last step. So anything that will be oil is my last shapes that I put on top. And then it's all sealed with like a mixed media spray varnish. Yeah.
Thank you for doing that. I always appreciate. No, that's great, Suzanne. I appreciate that you're asking questions, because I know that it's just totally a learning thing for everybody. Um, okay, so tell me, what do you want to do next with your work? Like, what are kind of like what's kind of on the horizon? Is this move kind of a part of that? Tell me more, kind of like what you want to do. Where do you see your work going?
Yeah. Well, I'm having a lot of fun kind of trying out this whole seeing how sewing can kind of interact
Yes,
with
yes,
my process. So I recently was working on, I made a bunch of little kind of like paper collage.
right.
Um, and just this process of like piecing things together. And, for most of my painting career, I've started with one canvas and I've worked on it start to finish. Um,
Yes,
and I'm really enjoying the process of like it's a real mind game, like a kind of a puzzle
yeah,
piece. Because when
yes, right.
you canvas and it's a whole canvas, you create something and I add a shape. And then because I work with layers and transparencies, once the shape is there, it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Each shape kind of dictates the next. And I kind of am watching this painting unfold as I feel like I'm almost in conversation with it, being like, what comes
Yeah.
next? And then sometimes there's a mark and I'm like, oh, I don't love that, or I don't love that color. And then there's like a problem I have to solve, or it's like a composition that doesn't feel right. But I'm confined to the marks that I've made on this canvas. Whereas when I'm working with on like rolled canvas and I'm just cutting and I'm sewing and then I'm stretching it on bars afterwards, there's so much potential
Yeah, yes.
process and the idea of being like, oh, I could put anything here. Sometimes um I'm enjoying working through that and figuring out how that process of making paintings works. And I also, so I'm interested in how, when with memory, when we remember things, it feels like this is kind of a visual of what that memory making process is like. Things are kind
Yeah.
of together and we remember little bits of this and then that. And maybe this thing features heavily and this little thing shrinks into a detail. And so I kind of like thinking about that as I'm stitching these canvases together. Um, my sewing machine just arrived here. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, but I was just talking with another artist this morning, about how it can feel kind of scary to continue to evolve a work and a series or a body of work, as an artist who is established. And um, how do you continue to evolve? And how do you show that kind of like, this is where I started, this is how you got to know my work. Um, I know you love this, but I'm continuing to evolve as a person and an artist. And I'm like, how do you show that process? Do you feel like you have to go slow and gradual? Do you make big leaps? Like what do you think about in your mind as an artist for that?
Yeah, definitely. I'm always feeling that push and pull of wanting to make art that feels true to where I'm at as an artist and what I'm
Yeah.
interested in, and allowing myself to push my work and to grow and to try new things. And I think that's such an exciting part of an art career, is that you do
Yes.
grow, and and your work grows with you. And
Yeah.
but yeah, there is this longevity of the work I've been making. And I think for me, it feels like my work has changed in slow enough little shifts
Yeah.
that it's not like this whiplash
Yeah.
move. And now,
Whiplash is such a good word for it. Yeah. Yeah.
yes, I think most of the time things are, and I love to show behind the scenes
Yeah.
stuff work. And so I think usually by the time I'm ready to release a new body of work or have a new show of something,
Hmm.
uh, it's stuff that people have seen me working on or have seen whispers of behind the scenes for usually many months. And oftentimes
Yes.
things start as ideas like maybe a year and a half before they
Hmm.
make their way onto a finished canvas.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, and so I think that slow movement, for me at least, has been a good way to kind of do that. And I also love working on custom projects and commissions for people. So
Yes.
some, you know, stuff will grow, or I'll move into a slightly different,
Hmm.
and then commissions and custom stuff give me a chance to kind of like dip my toes back into a style that maybe is slightly different than the way I've been working more recently. And it's
Hmm.
fun doing that and seeing that then with the perspective that I have currently, in revisiting a slightly different way of working.
Yeah.
And
Okay. Someone a little earlier said, do you have any advice for emerging artists? And I do want to hear that. But I also think what you have said is great advice for emerging artists of being able to share bits and pieces. You don't really have to have a camera on you at all periods of time, but getting people aware of your work, knowing how changes are happening, even giving little bits of process, even sharing with what layers are the oil stick and the acrylic and when you put the varnish. I mean, that doesn't give away your secret special sauce, right? But it
totally.
does help clients understand the work better. And so I think sometimes artists are afraid to share some of the behind the scenes, but in fact, it really opens up that kind of like behind the scenes curtain to accessibility and understanding and education. And
Yeah.
so I think that that's a really important note for artists who are starting. But do you have any other advice for emerging artists?
Oh, great question. Um, my biggest advice would be to make as much art as you can and don't worry about if it is like good or bad, or
Yeah.
just make the stuff. Don't let ideas sit in your head because they're going to
Hmm.
block ideas that want to come.
Yeah.
Have ideas, you just need to slot off time, like pick times of the week that are your art making times and then stick to them, make stuff and try things. And that, I think, is there's a quote that I love that, oh, I'll have to, I might be getting it slightly wrong here, but it says
That's okay.
something about like only, only by doing the work can your work lead you to its own further shore.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
and I love that idea of, sometimes there's no way to something except by doing it and
Yes.
making the art that you are wanting to make.
Yeah,
That would,
no, that is truly great advice because um I this is a little bit along those lines, but there's that book Big Magic, but that ideas want to be created, and if you don't do it, then they'll go on to somebody else.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And so I do think that really trying out the ideas and being open to the experimentation and all of that is such an important part of the process. It may not get used, but it is how you get to that next point that becomes your breakthrough.
totally.
And
Yeah,
so the experimentation has to happen. And then, really being able to be nimble and saying and understanding, okay, I did try this and I thought it might work, but it's not working. So let's move on. Here's what I think is the next step.
totally.
Um, and not getting so attached to the final outcome. Michelle Armis is another one of our artists, but she does a lot of teaching. And Michelle is like, what's precious is the process and actually
Mhm.
doing it. What's precious, what's not precious is like the final work. And
Totally.
I think that that's a really important thing to think about. Honestly, and I take all of these things from all of you artists that just as a creative person that I may not be creating art myself, but these are all things that I take anytime I'm trying to create anything, right? Like whether it's marketing or selling or all of that. I think it's so
Yeah.
applicable in so many ways.
Yeah, there's so many common threads.
There's so many common threads. Yes. Okay. Is there any other way that we can support you? Of course, the show opens on Friday. I'm very excited to be sharing off the work.
Yeah.
But yes, is there anything else that you are excited about that we can be supporting you? Follow you on Instagram and all of that too, Megan on Instagram. And is there anything else that we can be doing for you?
No, I think, yeah, showing up to the shows and
Yeah.
my work it means so much. And yeah, I love being able to share bits of my process on Instagram, and I love having you guys follow along there. Um, yeah, I'm excited to make and share more work.
Yes, thank you, Megan. And I cannot wait to see what a year in Spain does for your work and you as a person too. I mean, it'll be so, I'm sure, um, evolutionary for all of that. So I
Yeah,
appreciate it. And I appreciate you finding the time to spend with us. This is something that we normally do these artist chats for our insiders program, but we opened it up to the public so everybody could listen in. And we will be posting this to our Instagram in case you missed it. So thank you so much, everybody. Thanks, Megan, and we'll talk to you soon.
thanks, Liz. Bye.
Bye.